This is the Missouri Southern State University Coaches Show with head football coach Atiba Bradley and Michael Imami.
Hi there, good evening. Welcome to week 9 of the Missouri Southern Coaches Show. I'm Michael Imami, joined as always by head coach Atiba Bradley. Coach, first off, good to be with you today.
Absolutely. Always a pleasure to be here.
Congrats on the big win yesterday, too. Fired everybody up. Being on a bye, did that change things fundamentally in practice about how to regroup after a 4-game losing skid? And, of course, what did you tell your group this week in preparation, obviously eyeing to snap that streak?
Yeah, I mean, really the biggest thing we wanted to do in the bye week and even leading up to Nebraska-Kearney was really strip back and really hammer the fundamentals. We wanted to get some reps to our younger guys and guys that in our 2 deep that we knew were going to need these last 2 games, and so we were able to do that.
All right, and it was a big day for a lot of people yesterday. It was a cooler day, and I like to say a special day yesterday, too. It was obviously Military Appreciation Day, Senior Day as well. If you want to roll those highlights, guys, see what we got on our screen there. Just so many big moments for Missouri Southern here all across the board. And we had a marriage proposal too. Congratulations, heartfelt to Joaquin Tapu Soa and his new fiance. How often do you see a marriage proposal before kickoff, Coach?
No, that's the first in my young career, but it was pretty cool to be a part of it.
Again, huge congratulations to those two from all of us here on KSN. Kearney starting with it. They're rolling. Reagan Jones flushed out of the pocket. Gets the Lopers on the board first. How'd you guys adjust on defense to have that success in the second half and contain it?
Yeah, you know, there's a lot of cat and mouse in the first couple series of the game, just trying to see what they wanted to do offensively and what they wanted to do defensively. And so running the Q was part of their red zone package, and we were ready for it.
Now Lions possession, you just saw Draper Parker right there. Deontay Campbell is back. Yeah. In there as well. One thing I noticed too, especially on this possession, is really that rhythm. You've got Will Height going. You're going to see him right here, going over the top for the catch, and then Alex Martini a few plays later tying this game up, Coach, with a key touchdown. Yeah,
it's kind of cool. You mentioned 3 tight ends and were real big in that drive, and all 3 real good dudes. And yeah, it was good to see Deontay come back and be able to participate in senior day and help us get a big win.
You can see Martini pretty fired up about getting that touchdown, nodding things up at 7 apiece. You guys get back on defense, and one of the things that's really apparent here is you see the defense just really getting after Jones. Even with this being in the first half, he's very much off kilter on this drive. He throws the ball out of bounds right there. Ensuing Lions possession, you guys march right down the field once again. What was your biggest advantage yesterday, looking at everything going in your favor?
Yeah, I think going into the bye week, you really have an opportunity to examine yourself, what you do well, what you've put on film. And so I think we did some things to kind of break some tendencies. I think we did some things to, create some new looks. And so I think it made us a little tougher to defend on the day.
And there's Will Height here coming up, getting his touchdown, fighting his way inside the pylon. We're going to chat with him a little bit on this show, so stick a bookmark in that one. But in the second half, Coach, I will say that this play coming up right here is probably the most consequential moment in this game. It brought a smile to everybody on the sideline, everyone in the stands. You've been waiting for this young man to break out. Aiden Robinson-Wayne on the punt return. They called it 79 yards. As he weaves through, I want to say about 6 or 7 people right there, flies down the sideline, tightrope walking, and scores. You've been waiting for him to break out and impact this team. Now that he's there, how did that feel?
Yeah, well, what's neat for me and even for him is that if you rewind back the clocks 9 weeks in week 0 in Midwestern State, I was losing my mind over some of the decisions he made as a punt returner, and I tried to fire him, but Coach Mahaley stuck with him, knowing that he could, and he's gotten better and better and better. And so just so happy for him to be able to have some success because he's worked so hard at it, and it was good to see.
And you see the smiles there on the sideline too. And then check this out, Stephen Black playing this one like a receiver, gets the pick. He later gets a fumble as well, returns that for 20 yards. You see guys playing with a purpose. The team seems more energetic, renewed, and changed. Not to say that that wasn't the case a few weeks ago, but when I say playing with a purpose, I mean in a sense that they're getting right back up. They're almost springing back up after these tackles and plays that are being made. So What do you think happened this week, either in practice or on the field against Kearney, that really changed the game?
Well, first and foremost, a lot of credit goes to our players, our coaches, for getting themselves ready to play. The other thing is, I thought we were able to have some success early, and it's kind of like a snowball rolling downhill.
Yeah.
That momentum is a real thing, and when you have those plays early, it's real easy to feed off those and to continue to build and build and build. And I think that's what happened yesterday. And once we got going, it was hard to stop.
Take a look at your final score in this one. A tremendous victory again for the seniors on this squad and really for the entire program as well. 24-13. Finally, you guys win by 2 possessions. What are some thoughts coming out of this one?
Yeah, just real excited. We had a team victory. We played well offensively. We played well on defense. We made some really big plays in the special teams. And so when you have a complete game like that, which is what we've been striving for all season, it's a good feeling, and it's definitely rewarding, again, for our players and our coaches.
And when you talked about 2 weeks ago out of Fort Hays State, you said, we've got to focus on us, not Kearney going into this bye week. How did that change things when you go into practice and you think about yourselves, you don't think about your opponent, you do a lot of self-reflecting in that process. So what was the mindset 2 weeks ago, obviously, to yesterday?
Yeah, again, there's a lot of plays, and there's a heavy install that when fall camp begins and you're talking, you have day 1, day 2, day 3, day 4, and you're just flying through the install. And with the youth on our team, some of those guys got lost after day 2, and so it was important in the bye week that we were able to go back and go through some of our day 1 calls and really spend some time explaining what they are and what they mean and how we can do a better job with them. And so, like I said, I think when you focus on yourself, it allows you to be the best version of yourself. And I'm a strong believer that we've got the talent, and as long as we play well, we can play with anyone in the country.
There's no question about that. And we'll take a look at those numbers in a little bit here when we chat with the guys. But obviously, again, congratulations on this big win. And what does this do for morale? Because that's one thing we were talking about earlier throughout the season. Guys, in some cases, were hanging their heads a little bit. That was not the case at all yesterday. If you watch the sidelines, everybody had a big grin on their face. So with that in mind, mentally, where are you guys at right now?
Yeah, wins are good for the soul.
Yeah.
Everybody needs them, and especially when you're going through a streak like we were in, you want to be able to snap that. You want to have some good mojo, and it was good to get that W.
All right, Coach, thanks so much. And when we come back, we're going to chat with one of the stars from yesterday, the big tight end. We've been trying to get him on this show for weeks, and we're so glad to have him.
He's booked weeks out. You got to talk to his agent and see if you can get him that way. But fortunate to have him tonight.
Absolutely. Trace Wilhite will be with us right after this. Welcome back to the MSSU Coaches Show. I'm joined right now by Southern tight end and Lamar alum Trace Wilhite. Trace, it's good to be with you. Good to have you on here, and great to chat with you. Welcome to the show. How are you doing?
Pretty good.
That's good to hear. Here. That's good to hear. We've been talking about you for weeks. Obviously, you becoming an increased playmaker in that offense, getting a little bit more comfortable. Now, looking at your backstory here, you played for both legendary head coaches over at Lamar, Scott Bailey and Jared Beshore. What are some things those two men taught you prior to Southern, and what stood out about the Lions in terms of you making your decision to come to?
Well, they just really installed, go to work every day, like stuff's not given to you, you're gonna have to work for it. And I chose Southern because it's close to home, and I know Coach Bailey. He used to coach at Southern, so that played a big role in it too.
And he's a great man as well. I caught up with him several months ago when we were doing the championship show for them. I think going back last December. I can't even believe it's been that long. But the kids were getting, right after it, even right before their game, they were lifting weights before the pep rally and all that. So it's definitely a strong program over there. And how has that built you into the man you were today?
Well, like I said, just working, love to go out there, get some work in, so.
Fantastic to hear. We can see that with you on the field. And Coach Bradley and I, as we talked about off air, have jokingly called you a Swiss Army knife because you've done pretty much everything on the offensive side. You play a little bit of fullback, a little bit of tight end. As you can see, we're going to have those highlights for you on your screen. I'm going to ask you, do you have a preference out there on the field between what you obviously play and then, with what you actually play or what you're told to play by the coaching staff?
Yeah, I think I'm just really a fullback, I think, because just go out there, do what a fullback does, you know, I don't really line up at the tight end as much. I'm usually in the backfield, so that's what a fullback does.
You got great ball skills as well. You got the body for it too. I think you're 6'1", so you got the height, you got the strength, you got the knowledge and the IQ and the skills for that. And obviously when you got that touchdown, you're pretty fired up. So dare I say the personality too of a fullback as well, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You were all conference at Lamar and a part of that Class II state runner-up team. You also ran track, played a couple years of baseball too, so letter winner pretty much all over the place. Now, a lot of things in track and field you were really good at, but in the field events, I do want to bring up one thing that stood out to me was javelin. So I got to know this. How does that translate to the football field? What about those workouts and those successes that you had throwing the javelin made you a good football player?
Well, when you're throwing javelin, you're doing a whole bunch of explosive works, explosive workouts like hang cleans, power cleans, and all that, and that translates to football. And then you just got, you have to hit your steps too, and there's steps to football as well. So
you're also a discus guy too, right?
Mm-hmm.
Did that a little bit. So were you better at? I mean, again, I asked your preference being a fullback and obviously having the speed. Field events or the track? Which one, catered better to your style, would you say?
Oh, I'd say field events because there you get to lift more weight, and you're not running as much. So
you definitely have to have the body out there for it, right? Got to be strong. We had a couple of Big 8 conference alums on here as well, and we were talking about this last week too with the McDonald County alum, 2 weeks ago rather. You played with some teammates and you played against some teammates as well. So when you go at it against guys in high school and then you play with them, obviously, at the collegiate level, how does that change things a little bit for you?
Well, I mean, it doesn't really change much. We just we know each other, so it just brings us closer as a bond,
Yeah, and you got so many great teams in the Big 8 too. Seneca, obviously, with your, Lamar as well. And when you have teams like that are super competitive, how does that prepare you for this level in football?
What we're gonna go up against there, so that just translates to the next level because, once again, teaches you how to work and prepare.
And that's what it really all comes down to, right?
Yep.
Take a look at some of those offensive numbers as well that you had. I want to start with your quarterback here. Luke Sampson had a very good day, 20 for 37, 2 touchdowns. He did have that one pick. I got you at the middle of your screen there, 3 receptions, 39 yards, and that touchdown. With you playing, again, that increased role in the offense and you're finding yourself in the end zone time and time again, how does that feel for you knowing that you're kind of stepping up in a lot of cases for guys who are either injured and now you're taking that primary role right by the reins?
Oh, I love it. I really just try to do what the coaches tell me to do, and if they tell me to go score, I'm going to do my best to go score, And
that's what you have done so far, right? I mean, you've been all over the field in a lot of different cases, but being a utility guy too and kind of doing what they tell you and obviously getting out there doing blocking as well, how do you prepare yourself mentally for that?
Just go back to the film room, really. Yeah, you can do a lot there. Just watching film, and then you got the coaches with you every step of the way too, so that's good.
And how is it playing for Coach Bradley?
Oh, it's about the same as Coach Bailey and Coach Beshore. He knows how to work, and he's going to make sure we're working.
Absolutely. We're going to hear from him in a little bit, but we're going to talk a little bit of defense before that. First, Trace, thanks so much. We're super glad to have you on here. It's great to chat with you, and obviously best of luck to you guys next week. We're going to take a look at the defensive side up next. We also had some playmakers yesterday, and who better to break it all down than defensive lineman David Aplotnik. He joins us right after this. Welcome back to the MSSU Coaches Show. I'm joined right now by Southern defensive lineman David Aplotnik. Hey, David, it's good to be with you. Congrats on the huge win. You just heard from Trace. Now you're going to hear from a guy on the defensive side. You come to Joplin from Fairgrove, so not too far up the road from us here. And, speaking of defensive side, that is not where you got your start. You were a quarterback, recruited as a quarterback as well. What drew you to Southern, and how have you grown as part of Atiba Bradley's program making that switch?
So as far as recruiting going from Southern, my brother committed a couple weeks before I did. I was kind of torn between basketball and football.
Yeah.
My mom and dad both graduated from Southern, so that brought me close. I have grandparents in town. It's just a great location close to home. Easy transition for me as well.
So what kind of made you make that switch? Obviously, you're two completely different positions.
Right, yeah.
One's attacking the other. Defensive line's attacking the quarterback. Quarterback's trying to prevent for being attacked by the defensive line. So how did you make that insane transition on the opposite side of the ball?
So I actually played only 1 year of high school quarterback, and I was a defensive end, outside linebacker all 3-4 years out of high school. So it was a little bit of a background I had in me, and after playing 2 years of backups and didn't really see the field much because they don't put quarterbacks out there on special teams or anything like that, I went to coach and I was like, is there anything else I can do for the team? So I put on some weight in the off season and got the opportunity to go out there and play with the defensive line, and I enjoyed it and took advantage of it, and that's where I'm at today.
6'5", 225. Do I have that correct?
Yes, sir.
So you're a big guy, definitely bigger than what you were coming in. You made that transition. I'll ask you about this. I don't ask a whole lot of guys this question, especially when they make that transition from position to position, but how did you transform your body and kind of your weight to get to where you needed to be?
Well, a lot of it went into off-season work, and when I say off-season work, through our coaching staff, all the supplements and stuff they provide for us, and really just putting in that extra work on top of that. So getting in the weight room an extra time for during the week, eating more and more, because that's the biggest thing is nutrition. So I was in the calf a lot, really helped with those meal plans, and then just put in that work and ended up coming out on the good side for me.
Like Trace earlier, you guys have a big thing in common, accomplished in both track and baseball as well. So again, a kind of a common theme with you guys, getting into those sports and excelling at them very well. And morale matters so much in pretty much everything, especially baseball, where you are known to fail more than you succeed, by virtue of how that game is played. So we talk about the different hardships and battles that you guys have gone through this season, particularly at the beginning. And how big of a day was yesterday for this group in terms of that morale, in terms of seeing everything come together and getting that win?
I think it was huge, not only for individual standpoint as a senior or senior night, but as a team to come together and get a win, because you do build a lot of relationships and bonds and memories and big wins and losses as well. But you remember the nights that you win together, you play out there, you play together. So I think that was huge as a team to get that going into the next week and just building upon that.
When I talked with Coach earlier, one thing that I thought was really fascinating when we had covered that, basically guys springing up, there was a new renewed energy that wasn't there before.
Right.
What sparked that? I mean, you had 2 weeks off, obviously, in practice to kind of, as Coach talked about, find yourselves a little bit after that loss to Hayes, but what sparked that yesterday?
I think guys were just ready to the point to where they were just getting ready to go all in and push all their chips in one pile. I think a lot of guys were just ready to stop holding back and give everything. I know a lot of it on defense is, we just effort, and that's what we preach on. And I think we really just gave all our effort out there today or yesterday, and I think it showed.
Coach also talked about swarming, that being a defensive tactic, obviously, and that paid off big dividends yesterday. We'll take a look at some of those defensive numbers. You did not see guys necessarily getting those 11, 12, 15 tackles that you saw in the past. You saw a lot of spread out numbers, which what Coach was telling me about weeks ago. You've got it right there. Andrew Portillo with a big game yesterday. He had a solo tackle and a forced fumble. You're getting those turnovers. Griffin Lampton, 3 tackles, a sack, forced fumble for him, and then Stephon Black obviously getting that INT, playing it like a receiver, and then returning that forced fumble 20 yards. The crowd was an impact yesterday. The fans, the bench was an impact yesterday. Seeing those numbers translate to success, how does that make you guys feel?
I think it's great, and I think it's great that you see more, team numbers together, and I think that kind of shows how we kind of transitioned over the last couple of weeks is, we're making team tackles. We're not doing any solo tackles, or we still have solo tackles, guys making plays, but just swarming to the ball and helping each other out because, one guy's going to miss, but if, 3 other people there to make the tackle helps everyone else out. Pursuing to the ball is what we've been preaching on a lot lately, and I think that kind of showed yesterday in the game as well.
I think, when was the last time we said you and I talked? Was it the Northeastern State press conference,
yes,
right?
Sir,
it was right before that win that you guys had 4 games ago. So obviously we meet again after another big win. So win number 2 on the season for you guys. Mentally, where does this one rank from the Northeastern State win? Which one? I mean, they're all wins, they're all great.
Right.
But how much sweeter is this one knowing that you had what you had to go through 4 games straight, coming out on top?
I think it's kind of like a staple piece to what we're going towards, not only in this next game, but into the offseason as well. Building these last couple games together, and I know there's been a rocky road in between those, but this one meant a little bit more, especially to us seniors coming down to the end of the road. Just putting everything together and putting everything we out there for those last couple games, and I think it's really going to help us into this next week as well.
All right, David, thank you so much.
Thank
Best
you.
of luck to you guys this upcoming week. We'll be right back after the break to break down next week's game, a very, very tough Central Missouri team. Coach Bradley is going to be right here with us after the break. Welcome back to our final segment of the Missouri Southern State Coaches Show. Again, I'm Michael Imame, joined again by head coach Atiba Bradley. Coach, of course, always a pleasure. Great chatting with you after a win yesterday, but fast forward to next week. We got a very, very dangerous UCM team on the road. And coming off of yesterday's win, how does that help things just a little bit going into a tough opponent?
Yeah, I think it gives us a little spark. You know, each team presents its own challenge, but I think UNK was a very strong defensive team, and we had a really good showing versus them, our offense versus their defense. And now we flip the page to a UCM team that's very, very high-powered on offense. And so, you know, I'm excited for our defense to pick up the challenge and head up and go get a win.
Take a look at that matchup here for you on your screen. Again, Lions paying the Mules a visit in Warrensburg, going up against the former Harlan Hill winner, Zach Zabrowski, which is a name I think the entire country at this point I think is familiar with here. That young man throws 400-plus yard games consistently every single week. So he is one tough guy to stop through the air. You look at your game plan, they looked very good against Emporia yesterday. What does practice look like this week going into facing a guy like that?
Yeah, you know, I think it's a continued and renewed focus on us. We keep facing these different styles of offenses and quarterbacks, and he's one that we can't imitate it in practice, you know. And so we've got to really focus on our pass rush and keeping him in the pocket and just making him uncomfortable. Receiver-wise, you know, we've got to just show him different looks so that he has to utilize the whole field rather than being able to hone in on one guy in one area.
Reagan Jones, you guys did a really good job of flushing him out of the pocket, making him uncomfortable, seeing him off kilter again with those throws. So when you've got a guy like Zabrowski, who in some cases on film is a little bit more poised, what are some ways to kind of overcome those challenges and use those same things that were successful this past week into facing him?
Yeah, I think the similar trait with most quarterbacks is they don't like to get hit. And you know what I mean. There's some tough kids out there that will get hit, like option quarterbacks will get hit and bounce back. But there's a reason quarterbacks sit behind these big old lines, and they like to have comfort. They like to have space at their feet so they can step into their throws. And so our job as a defense is again, to make him feel uncomfortable, to challenge him each and every time he drops back, to make him think about what he's doing rather than just being out there like it's 7-on-7.
And their coach is really good too. Schematically wise, what makes them different compared to some of the other teams that you faced this year?
Yeah, I think they have a spread type offense with a two-back physicality, if that makes sense. And so Josh Lamberson's been in the league a very long time, and he understands you can't just chuck it around without having a physical O-line and a physical tailback. And so, it's going to be a big challenge. But like I said, Coach Patasso's been up to it all year long, and we're just another notch in our belt with what we got to go get.
It should be a really good game coming up next week. And we will be there. We'll have those highlights for you on Saturday. And we'll have the show again on Sunday. It'll be our last show, Coach. I'm getting nostalgic now.
Too soon.
We're going to miss you. We're going to miss you on here.
Too soon.
But, of course, best of luck to you again next week. And it's been great having you on this past year. We're going to wrap things up next week with our final Coaches Show and kind of recap the season for you. We appreciate you a ton for staying up late with us tonight. Same place, same time next week. And until then, have a great rest of your night, everybody.
This has been the Missouri Southern State University Coaches Show.